Hi, you've reached Tim and Gabrielle from Excel Talk. We're not able to come to the phone right now, but if you leave a message, we'll be sure to respond by playing your message on our live Excel Talk broadcast. Welcome, everyone. We are live today on Wednesday, February 16th, 2002. My name is Tim Rodman from augforums.com, and
I am Gabriel from Velixo, and it's a pleasure to be with you again today. And I believe, Tim, it's already Excel Talk number 3.
yes.
Wow, we made it.
We're still single digits, but at least we're greater than 1 and 2.
Yes, and you know, the great thing about these live broadcasts is that they are also recorded, and that we have people that will not necessarily watch us live, but that will go through some of the recordings just to look at specific things that we covered. You don't even need to watch the whole thing if you find that we're boring or not interesting.
Yeah, like we were talking before, we've got our phone number in the top right there, 833 Excel Talk. We'd like to hear your specific Excel questions. But, you know, we also just use this as an opportunity to get something recorded that otherwise might not get recorded. This is my chance to catch up with Gabrielle and what's going on with Velixo. Our chance to, you'll hear at the end, debate different ways of approaching things in Excel. Stuff that is not high polish, but like you said, Gabrielle, you can always link to a specific portion of the recording. It doesn't even have to watch the whole thing. And that's the idea here. Get it out.
Yeah,
Get it out in the open.
And you know what, Tim? I've been loving these live recordings, like the quick, unrehearsed, like I don't want to say like unprofessional, but it's not like we're going into a studio and doing 15 takes. It's always live. We meet a few minutes before and we, just get rolling. And I've been doing the same now to answer customers or people on LinkedIn. I will use Loom. It's an app I found recently. It's one click. It sits in my menu bar. I get to record something, and as soon as I hit finish, it's live, and I just share the link with people. So I find that it's a very efficient way to communicate something, especially when you need to demo software. It's much faster than writing everything, and the bonus is that you can then share that with others as well. So I will always repost on LinkedIn after.
Yeah, if we had time, we would make it really polished, right? But we don't. So this is what you get. So, hey, we started off last time talking about Summit. It was about to happen. Now it's happened. You were actually there. You got any news to share with us from Summit?
Yes, actually, I have a few pictures. So let me share my screen.
Ooh, slideshow. Let's see it.
Yeah, slideshow, and I even have a video. So it's about magic. I will tell you more.
Let's take a look.
All good, and let's switch back. Yeah, so I got there early because of COVID. We unfortunately got COVID in Brazil, and I told the story. So I wanted to be there early just to make sure that I wouldn't have any issues crossing the border. So Saturday was the pre-summit walk organized by Sergey Cherniak from Acumatica. It was great. So we were there with other Acumatica partners and customers. Very nice walk, pleasant weather, much better than Montreal. Definitely. Yeah. So day one summit. You can see I took a picture of the crowd shortly before it started. Unfortunately, not as much people as last July, probably because of Omicron, and also maybe some people felt that it was not worth it so early after the last summit. But still, it was a very good keynote, high energy as usual. And after the summit, we just went back to the Velixo booth. So just took a picture of that. And as you can see, we have the Excel Talk business cards here. So that's
nice.
right. Yeah, that's right before we that's right before we move them to be more visible on the table. So I know some people grabbed cards. I know you sent a mailing, right?
Yes, I did. Send an email blast out.
Yeah. So anyway, it's always super fun, so much people. And now that my company has been growing, I finally have people helping me, so I can just like sit back, relax, and have more time for discussions with customers and partners. So one thing that I also wanted to mention, very proud of that, very proud of the Velixo team. We won the ISV Partner of the Year award. So just one picture of us with the Acumatica leadership team.
I was curious on that. Do you know what goes into that? Like, what's the criteria?
Oh, there's official criteria. So it's ISV certified all risk current solution with the most revenue. So I know that they look at marketplace sales, that Acumatica App Store, quote unquote, where you can add add-ons. So Velixo is listed there, but there are other criteria as well.
Velixo got mentioned a couple times, I feel like, in the customer highlights during the keynotes. Yeah, got a few shout outs.
Yeah, exactly. You not tagged. Yeah, you tagged me on Twitter during the video. So, by the way, Cornell mentioned us directly in the testimonial, but every single client that was on stage during the keynote is a Velixo customer. So, very proud of that as well. Yes. And we came up with a new concept for the summit. We had a magician, and we also hosted a session called Making Magic with Excel and Acumatica. That was really fun, and I have a short video that I would like to show you before we move on to the next topic. Yes, it's like 45 seconds, and it's very fun. We had a lot of feedback. This guy appeared on TV, on many shows. He's a real professional. So let's click and start.
It's easy to do. There's no sleight of hand. 3 cards. You put the black card in the middle. Sir, where is the black card? Oh, that's good. He's smart. He's a smart guy. Take a step forward. Sir, wait. Where's the black card now? Still in the middle. He's good. Okay, he's good. Take out that black card. Don't turn it over just yet. But look, you have a free choice in what cards you take. But Velixo is always the right choice. Show them. Always the right choice. That's a good trick, right? That's pretty good. Here's how it works. Take a look. Take a look. Take a look. Look. There's a flat. The card goes.
Yeah, so we had we had a giveaway at the booth, so we explained the trick. But Joe also had a bunch of other tricks, and everything was aligned with Excel, with reporting, with accuracy, and getting data out, and ensuring that everything that you have in your spreadsheets match what you have in your ERP. So it was great, and it kind of like changed the tone of our typical discussions at Summit.
That's really cool. A smart idea, a creative idea. Yeah, I like that.
Thank you, Tim.
Well, cool. So next thing we had, we were not planning this, but probably a couple hours ago, we got an announcement that there is now a new CEO at Acumatica. So we got a 25-second video with a couple of Twitter screenshots, the announcement, and Gabrielle's response to it. So I'll play that. So we go from John without an H to John with an H, John Chase. I know nothing about the new John, but to the old John, I just want to say thank you. Thanks for growing Acumatica into what it is today. It's not just about having a good technology product. You also need a good business strategy. And John Roscoe really brought that to the table. And welcome, John Chase, to the Acumatica community. Acumatica's made very strategic decisions, and I'm sure that their selection of the new CEO was no different. So looking forward to seeing what John Chase takes us to as the next step for Acumatica. Gabrielle, your thoughts?
As I said on my tweet, it's been a privilege to work alongside John. I worked at Acumatica about 4 years, and I joined a few months before John was hired. I learned so much from him, and when I decided to leave and start Velixo, it was a difficult choice because I knew that I would no longer have John on my side, and Ali and the others. Definitely, I want to make sure to highlight everyone. But I mean, John has been great. Such a humble guy. I mean, you know what to expect, and he's high energy. It's someone that I have a lot of respect for, and I'm super excited to know that he will still be around and helping the Acumatica family succeed in the future. So Thanks a lot, John, and all the best in your future endeavors. And also, I want to welcome the new John at Acumatica. So I know that he's a Microsoft guy, or at least he used to work at Microsoft. He's now working. He was working at another company that is also an Acumatica customer. So that's, that bodes well for Acumatica, I'm sure. The Microsoft philosophy, very customer friendly, partner friendly, will still be part of the Acumatica DNA, I'm sure.
So, well, looking forward to reading more like analysis about this, but that just hit the news wire a couple hours ago, so we thought we'd highlight that. All right, so we got one phone call today. You want to go ahead and move into that, Gabriel?
Yes, absolutely. Let's get started.
All right, here we go.
Cue it up.
Hi, here's my question. For our retail business, we report same-store sales for year-over-year comparisons, as do many retail businesses. To qualify as a same-store for a given comparison, the store has to have been in existence for 13 months. The open date data for the store doesn't exist in Acumatica, so the way we accomplish this with Felixo now is to have a table of all our stores with their open dates and same-store dates in Excel, and then use text join in the Felixo formula to retrieve the correct stores, which are included in the sub-account field. This works great for a given month. The challenge, though, is in doing this math for a quarter or year-to-date measure, because it's not as simple as excluding certain stores as we do for the current month. What we want to do here is include in any quarterly or year-to-date calculation any months that there was same-store info, and not exclude a store if it didn't exist for all months in the time period. Here's an example. Store opened July 2020, means we'll report it in same-store calculations starting in August 2021, where for the month, what we want to show is August 21 results versus August 20 results. But for the third quarter of 2021, we want to not exclude that store in total. We want to include its August and September results for both years in the quarterly comparisons. So what we really need to do is select certain months for certain stores and sum them up. We can do this in Excel for bringing all the data by month and do the math, but that's a ton of data. We could do this in Tableau with database formulas. I think we could pretty easily run a SQL statement or create a view that would select the right data.
That's a great question, Tim. Have you ever come across something like that in your in your Power BI days?
Well, so to be honest, I didn't understand the full situation. I had some ideas in my head of what was going on there, but I think I need to see it. And I think you know the person who called in, and you have some more details on it. So I'm actually looking to see your example first, and then I'm going to map it into Power BI in my head.
Yes, and I'm sure that once you see it, you will understand. So I have a simple spreadsheet that I prepared to show this this more easily. So let me turn on screen sharing. Perfect. So consider this P&L here. You have total revenue. You have 2021 Q4 and 2020 Q4. So let's say that during the year, you open a bunch of new stores. So looking at this, you would say, wow, everything is going great. I increased my revenue by 47%. But what if you added 200 stores? This number here is not really meaningful because you're comparing revenue for a certain number of stores with another number that is for a much higher number of stores. So in the retail business, like the franchisees model where you have multiple locations, it's very important to compare apples with apples and not apples with oranges. I had this request before. We helped other customers do that, but when I saw this question come in through our support team, I knew that it was time now to do it in a very clean way and explain that to others, because I think this is a common topic. It's something that could apply not only to Excel reporting, but also to SQL queries, to Power BI. And the way you will address this will always be similar, just, with different syntax.
So I got to ask you the end result here. Are we looking for breaking the 2021 into two columns, new stores and existing stores, or what's the end result going to look like?
No, so the people at the companies will want to see two types of report. One that does the same store year comparison, and one that is just a plain P&L. So
Got
plain
it.
P&L, you want to look at the entire revenue for 2021. But if you want to compare the performance of your stores in 2021 with your stores in 2020, you just care about the stores that have been open for at least 13 months. So if the store just opened, it will not show up here. So the revenue will actually be lower. Okay. We don't want, because we want to see how much our revenue has increased by looking at existing stores that had activity in 2020 and 2021.
Gotcha.
Make sense?
So you're going to bake that into the entire sheet. You might have a separate sheet in that workbook that does the regular P&L.
Yes, correct.
Okay.
Or just a setting. So same store, like yes, no,
Sure.
with some sort of drop down. I've
Sure.
seen it done this way previously.
Okay.
Okay. So let's just expand and look at how this report is built right now. And this will help you understand how I'm going to address that. I will expand. So Q4 is just a sum of 3 columns. And I will expand the 3 columns. So it's C, D, and E. Can actually make that smaller for clarity. So C, D, and E, we're just using the account turnover formula in Velixo. We want to look at the revenue in the period that we see in C6. Right now, there is no store filter. So in Acumatica, you could do the store filters a few different ways. You can do it by branch. So if you have multiple branches, each branch representing a store, you would want to filter that to exclude the stores that have not been open for at least 13 months. Another model that is also used by some companies is to do that as part of the sub-account structure. So let's say the first segment of your sub-account or the second segment of your sub-account could be the store number. And this is actually how I am going to do it right now. Tim, do you want to elaborate like why someone would use the sub-account versus branches for identifying individual stores or locations?
Yeah, I don't know enough about it. I would guess it'd be more sub accounts if you really have a lot of stores. But yeah, I think maybe it comes down to, do they need their own balance sheet or not, right? If you're a separate branch, you could run requiring balancing, run a separate balance sheet. If it's just a P&L, which I would think would be the case in most cases, then yeah, you just need a sub account.
Yes, you're right. Branches can be balanced. You can do tax reporting for individual branches and companies. At the sub account level, that requires more, more planning and control in your system. But anyway, that's not the main topic of our discussion today. I just want to mention that for this example, we will be filtering based on the sub account structure, but the technique would be the same if you were doing it to filter by branch. I have another tab in my spreadsheet called Store List, and Store List has a list of all my stores. Okay, and for each store, you can see that we have the open date of the store. So I was mentioning that we might have stores that open in 2021. Let's take a look here, and I will just use my one of my favorite features in Excel, column filters, and you can see that we had, like 34 stores that opened last year. So obviously, if we include all the new stores in the report, that will give us a skewed picture of our revenue increase, because these stores are brand new and we didn't have them last year. So if we compare, we're not going to have a good picture of how much our revenue is increasing on the individual store basis.
I got a quick question for you on stores. So in this type of scenario, I haven't actually done this before, but I've always thought it might work well to go into the segment values in the sub account and add a custom column in there. Have you ever done that or seen people do that?
I've never done that, but I would agree that this would be a great way to do it because this will, again, this goes back to what I said last month, like Excel shouldn't be used as a database. And here you are using Excel as a database. And the risk is that you might have multiple spreadsheets with the same store list and with slightly different values. So yes, having that as a custom column, either in the segment values or in the branch screen, would make a lot of sense, and it would actually be very simple to set up.
Yep, agreed. Yeah, be one of those minimally invasive customizations.
Yeah. Okay, so before we bake that into the P&L, here's what I want to do. I will zoom in just to make things easier, and I will add 2 cells. So test data, let's say report date. By report date, let's say I want to report as of December 31st, 2015. and I want to see my same store filter. Tim, you have used Velixo in the past, so you know that in Velixo you can have wildcards. So let's say like that would mean every single store, or I could have stores listed like that with a semicolon in between. So this is what I want. I will enter a date, and I want to see all the stores that should be included if I'm running a report as of December 31st. So I want to see all the stores that have been open for at least 13 months. And I want that to be completely dynamic. I don't want to have to look up the list myself. And I want this to be as dynamic as possible.
And this is the hard part, right? Because passing it to your account turnover formula is going to be just dropping it in there. But this is the intelligence part to it, right?
Yes, it will be a piece of cake. Absolutely. So let's get started. I will use the filter formula of Excel, filter function, I'm sorry. So filter is built into Excel, and it lets you filter any range or array. So in my case, I want to filter the store list. So let's just take here. And since this is a data table, it shows me the name of the column instead of a cell reference. So I want to filter the store list. And I want to filter based on the date open. So if the date open is older than 13 months from the date I have in F5, it should be included. So did I get this right? Yeah, I think so. Let's press enter. Perfect. So if we're running a report as of December 31st, 2015, this is what should be included.
So filter is a dynamic array formula, correct?
Filter is a dynamic array formula, correct. Okay, so you can see that as I'm changing the date, that this list updates. Now this is not perfect, okay? Because in my system, I have two segments in my sub account, and the store number is actually the second segment. So what I need instead is something like that. So for this one, it would be question mark, and then 1103, question mark, 1105. Because I only want to filter on the second segment of my Acumatica sub-account structure. It turns out that it's actually quite easy, and it works seamlessly with the dynamic array functions. So before filter here, I will just prepend or add a prefix to the resulting value. So question mark, and then the list of stores. We're almost there. At this point, what I would need to do is convert this into a list that is separated by a comma or a semicolon. So we need to convert that dynamic array into a single cell that is formatted like I showed you earlier. So like that. And so on. Tim, I know I'm putting you on the spot, but do you remember the function to use for that?
No. Text join, text split, something
yes.
like that?
Text join, yes.
I guess.
By the way, there is no text split built into Excel. We added that in Velixo for clients, but it's the exact opposite of text join. But text join is something that appeared in Office 365 a few years ago. So text join, I want to use a semicolon. I want to ignore empty cells. And this is what I want to join. Enter. Here we go.
That's huge right there. So that my Power BI equivalent for that is called concatenate X. But either way, this is a scenario I think that's very common in an ERP system where you have one-to-many relationships. And even if you're just looking to display it, I like this, right? Give me a comma delimited list rather than rows. But of course, we're going to take it further here. Yes. But that's awesome. Great technique. And I like how clean it is. Very simple.
Yes. And we will actually make it simpler. Because I still find it too complex, but you'll see there's something brand new in Excel called Lambda functions. I think I mentioned that to you, but we will be using Lambda functions to make this even nicer. Okay, before I go there and discuss Lambdas, I just want to highlight again that this is dynamic. So if you add new stores to the list, you don't even need to change a formula because it's referencing the entire stores column in the table, and it's always looking at the date open.
Yeah, and if we had put it in Acumatica using that as the database, putting a custom column like we talked about, that would just be the GI function instead of the filter function to retrieve that data, and it'd still be dynamic. Yeah.
Yes, exactly, Tim. Exactly. Okay, so now let's take this function. I did that here to test it more easily, but now we need to take this function and use it in our income statement. So in this report, I actually have 6 columns. So we have the 3 months in the quarter for 2021 and the 3 months in the same quarter last year. So we need to modify the formula here and introduce a sub-account filter that will filter based on the date that I have here. Actually, we don't have a date, so we would need to modify that to use financial period end date with this 13 months. Okay, so that's a change I need to make, and actually, and you can see, okay, I will undo. So you'll see that when I copy this to the right, that the number goes down, and that's because now it's looking at stores that have been open for at least 13 months, and we can do the same with 2020. I'm not sure if in this case they would want to do it in 2020, but let's assume they want. So I just copy the formula. Okay, so now it works. If I change the date here and run it for a different period, it will take into account the store list for that specific period.
So one sec, let me digest this a little bit. So first of all, it looks to me like you pasted the entire thing in the formula. So it's not dependent upon what you were doing on the store list sheet. Is that right?
It's not dependent at all. No, I'm just using the formula as is. I copy pasted and I replaced the date that we had here, okay, in F5. I replaced that with the date of this financial period here in C6.
So you've got a standalone formula, and I think that's still pretty clean. At least it fits on one line. I mean, if you really get into doing sometimes getting into doing things that are much less sophisticated than this, your Excel formula is already on multiple lines. This is pretty clean. I like this.
Yeah, but in my opinion, it's starting to get messy because the formula is quite long. Hey, Tim, is my screen like red or something like that? The preview that I see in StreamYard is a bit strange.
No, it looks okay on my end.
Okay, maybe it's just the preview. I wanted to make sure before we go too far, because this next part will be interesting. So what if we could simplify this complex section here into one formula? Or actually, what if we could simplify this entire thing into a single formula called account turnover same store? Well, thanks to the new Lambda functions in Excel 365, you can do just that. So you can change this formula, give it a name, and then use it in other cells in your workbook.
So what you're saying is, but wait, there's more. That's what you're saying, right?
Wait, there's more. Exactly. And this is cool. And I've been meaning to show that for a while. Lambda functions just showed up in the current channel of Excel 365. So this had been an insider-only feature, and now it is available in the latest Excel version. Okay. So there's a few ways to
follow along.
Yeah. So there's a few ways you can set up Lambdas. And Tim, if you want, you can use Lambdas for something quite simple. So let's say you have here, and you have a function called multiply. Okay, you want to create a function that will multiply 1 and 2. That's the example I would use if you want to experiment with Lambda. So F9 times F10. Okay, let's try to create a Lambda on your side with that. So Lambdas.
Good. Yeah, let's start simple. Yeah, I like that.
Yes, you're right. Actually, yes. Let's do the same thing and not over-complexify. So I have operand 1, operand 2, and multiply result. So that's a result. And now if I do that, it multiplies just fine. So instead of having F9 multiplied by F10, I would like to do just equal multiply this by that. And to do that, you use Lambda functions in Excel. So let's do a Lambda like without using any tools. I will just type it here and do equal Lambda. And then I need to specify all my parameters. So let's do operand 1, operand 2. And then the formula is the following. So I will just do operand 1 multiplied by operand 2. So I'm basically telling Excel that I want to create a Lambda function. The Lambda function should accept 2 parameters, and then the calculation is operand 1 multiplied by operand 2.
Okay, so I got to say, I'm following along, and I do have the Lambda function. I've been wondering when it would drop, and I'm not even on the try new experience stuff, so this is cool. I can see it.
Yes, so let's see now if I can just reference that. Do 3 times 4. Okay, I might have missed something here. Lambda arguments. So it's actually the first time I create a Lambda with 2 arguments. So let's make sure I have the right syntax. Yeah, that looks good.
You could back out and just do a 1 argument. It would give us the idea.
Yeah, this is it. But I think, the only problem is that, oh yeah, okay. If you want to try the Lambda in a cell, you need to try it here first. Yes, okay, that works. So that's how I would try the Lambda, but that's not how I will be using the Lambda in real life. So once you have it working, you can just take the Lambda function as is and go to the name manager of Excel and create a new name. So we said we would call it multiply, and it needs to refer to the Lambda function.
So now you've disconnected it from the sheet. I don't have to have it living anywhere in the sheet.
Correct. Yes. So now
Excellent.
it's in. Yes. Now it's in my name manager, and let's try it. So I will do equal multiply. See, it shows up now.
Nice.
Multiply F9 by F10. Now I get the same value.
Very cool. The gears are spinning. The possibilities are endless.
Yes. So there's also a new add-on that Microsoft released. Let's see if I can find it here. I did install it on my Mac. So Microsoft created a tool to help you build Lambda. Yes, the advanced formula environment.
So this is more like an editing environment. I don't need it to run Lambdas, but it just helps me to construct Lambda functions.
Yes, correct.
Okay.
And it's a Microsoft Excel add-in. Once you add it, it shows up in your own tab. Let's open it. It should see the Lambda. Load all names. Wow, what is that? Okay, editor. Can I see my Lambda? Okay, so it's the first time I use it. Obviously, it seems to have picked up a bunch of things I was not
Yeah, it
expecting.
looks like it's all demo stuff
Yes,
right now.
yes. But let's click let's create a new Lambda. Let's call that multiply twice, add, and then you can write your own Lambda here, and it will guide you. So the nice thing about the formula editor is that you can have multiple lines. You can add comments. So it's a cleaner way because in a cell or in the name manager, it will get extremely long and difficult to edit. So
as a developer, what does Lambda feel closest to? Is it JavaScript? Is it C#? What is it?
Lambda functions do exist in JavaScript and C#. So it's actually a concept that they took from other programming languages. It's also called Lambdas in C#. Okay, so that's a good example of a Lambda in C#. It's a Lambda called square, and square multiplies x by x, and then you can just call square in your source code. It's the exact same concept.
And what about VBA? Would you say Lambda is more or less powerful than the existing Excel VBA from what you've seen so far?
It's different. A Lambda is a single function, okay? Lambda will not have side effects. The Lambda will not have flow. Well, you could do if, else, then, but there will not be any loops. For example, you could have a loop in VBA code, but you will not have loops, at least as far as I know, in the Lambdas.
And it strikes me as more of a data manipulation language, not a GUI language like a VBA language. This is for working with data on the back end as a function.
Yes, and it makes formulas much cleaner. So now let's try to do it for our same store year formula. And maybe I should try using this for once here. Okay, let's create a new formula. I will call it same store year. And I click add and finish it later. Well, I just regret picking up all this crap when where is it? There are many hidden names that I have never seen. Here, wow. Oh, filter, okay, same store. Year, same store year. So let's type it here. So I will do equal Lambda again. So my function will take the report date, or actually it could take the financial period instead. And then the formula is as follows. Copy paste it from what we had earlier. So I want to do a text join of that with a filter of the store list.
So even though I'm off the grid, so to speak, you're still able to reference the table that's on the grid.
Yes, exactly. And then I will use financial period end date, and I will set the financial period here. So I think this is it. Unfortunately, the new advanced formula editor does not recognize custom formulas. So this is a Vilexo formula. It will be flagged as unknown, but it will at least include all the standard Excel formulas. You can still use them, but it's not going to help you fill out the function. Okay. So the nice thing here is the ability to have multiple lines indenting. So I've seen very, very complex formulas, and maybe I can bring that up here. Excel announcing Lambda functions. There are massive Lambdas in this article here.
Yeah, I mean, you're almost writing in a program here. This is a programming environment.
That's a good one. There's a GitHub repo to Excel, GitHub, Lambda functions. Yeah. So here's one. Multiple lines. So it's much cleaner than having everything on a single line. So I don't know what this one does. It's called flatten. But imagine if you need to use this over and over in your spreadsheets. And without Lambdas, you would basically need to have this entire block of Excel everywhere in the spreadsheet. So it makes things a lot cleaner.
Yeah, ugly and very prone to errors.
Yes. So let's try it. Same store year. So I will do equal same store year. Oh, it didn't get saved apparently. No. Oh, same store year. So I just learned something. You do need to synchronize when you make changes. So equal.
So this one might make more sense back on the income statement, right? That's where you would drop this.
So equal same store year, and I changed it to use a financial period instead because this is what we have on the report. So let's type 12/2015, enter, and here's the list. So equal same store year 12/2015.
Very clean. So you want it rounded out, take it all the way back to the income statement?
Yes.
Let's see how clean this thing looks.
Let's change it. Remove a big chunk of code and do same store year of C6. Enter. Same value. Much cleaner.
That is a nice looking formula right there.
Yes. And Tim, we could take this one step further and just create account turnover same store year.
So quick time check. You need to go at 12:50 today in 10 minutes.
Yes.
We had another. No. We had a couple other things on our list. Let's push them to next time. This is interesting. Let's keep going. Let's spend the last 10 minutes on this. This is
Okay.
great. I got some other questions on it too.
Yes.
Keep going.
Send your questions, Tim, because at this point we are done. What I was going to say is that you could also create another Lambda called account turnover same year that would make this even cleaner. So you could even get rid of that and add just account turnover same year with the usual formula arguments that you need. So it would be even simpler than this version here, but I mean, we can agree that this is quite clean. So it's account turnover, the ledger, the account code, the store list, the branch, and the dates. That's it.
Okay, and one thing I didn't completely follow in here, I missed. Where was the base year? Was it hard-coded?
What do you mean by the base year?
Well, let's say I want to take 20, it might have been 2015 that you used as the year that determines whether the store existed. Yeah, at 2015. So is that the period that determines does the store exist at this point in time or forward?
It checks if the store has been in existence for at least 13 months from that period.
And then, but back on your income statement, I missed the 12-15 where that was.
Oh, yes, it's right here. C6 and C6 is the financial period.
That's what I was missing.
Yes.
But so that's 10/20/21. But what if I want to make sure the store existed at 12/2015 and only include those stores in the 10/21 data?
So that would mean that you only want to include stores that have been open for at least 5 years. Is that what you mean?
That's your 13. You would modify the 13 parameter there?
Yes. So let's go back.
Okay, got it. That's all.
Editor.
That's what I was missing.
That's the same store year.
Yeah, so I guess you could do it either way. You could either say go back certain number of months, or you could say give me like an as of period, stores that existed as of a certain period. You could do it either way.
Yes, or you could have a variation of that takes more than one parameter. So this one expects a financial period.
Sure.
And you could add months in existence. Then instead of having 13 year, you would just use minus months in existence.
Gotcha. No, that's great. Yeah, you could, the gears are really turning here. You have a lot of flexibility. So my first question on this from the front end is, like when I go look at all the Velixo formulas that are available, I usually hit the FX button on the top there. Does your Lambda function show up there as well?
Good question. Let's check it out.
So I know Velixo gets its own category in the category list up there. This is a dramatic scan.
No.
It looks like it's not here. So name manager, does it show up then in, I guess name manager is where we defined it. So I would go to name manager to look for my list of possible Lambdas.
Yes. You can see
now, what about deploying these? Because I could see how, you got a pretty solid Velixo community. You're the ISV partner of the year. You very likely are the Acumatica ISV with the most number of customers on your list. You've got a community within a community going on. I know there's GitHub stuff that I don't completely understand. There's some technical ways to do this. Can you think of a way to share a common user contributed set of Lambdas that people could just plug in and use without having to copy and paste them?
That's a great question, Tim, and let's try something. First of all, I just want to wrap up on the name manager question that you had. Until a few weeks, it was not even possible to see the Lambdas here when you type the function name. So Microsoft added that before the official release, and I wouldn't be surprised if this shows up eventually in the name manager. It might.
We're on the bleeding edge here. Yeah. Gotcha.
Yes, exactly. So this will show up eventually, I'm sure. As far as sharing the functions, yes, this is a great question because we do want to build libraries. We have a customer that wants to create an inventory aging report, and I know that they will need to compare that with GL, and then there will be some complex filter and maybe lookups. I'd like to create simple formulas for that, or let's say something like equal quantity on N for item 1, 2, 3. That would be great, right? So instead of having that long GI lookup or GI with a filter, you could just modify that with quantity on N. So what would be great then is to be able to package that and ship that. Lambda is saved with the file. Okay.
You're thinking as a software publisher now, right? Where you might have a layer, you might have Velixo formulas and you might have Velixo lambdas on top.
Well, not lambdas, but something that I would share with the community. So maybe on the Velixo website. So additional functions, so inventory functions, customer balance functions, vendor functions, and so on.
Yeah.
I think that in Excel you can create a workbook that you store VBA custom functions in. So that's before it was possible to create custom functions in JavaScript. Create custom functions, VBA library. So it's a special extension that I cannot just remember. Your own VBA code library.
Well, maybe we pick that one up next time. I think you've opened the door to lambdas here, and you did it with a use case, which is how we like to do things. And I just think there's a ton of interesting things here.
Yeah, maybe I can figure this out quickly here. I know it's a special type of workbook that you need to save in a special folder, and it will get loaded by Excel. Excel add-in, XLAM. That's it. The XLAM format is just a plain Excel file. So your VBA code gets loaded, and you need to initialize that Excel add-in as part of Excel modules. Do you want to try it out quickly, or did you want to move on to a different topic?
You're the one who has another meeting to go to, so if you want to keep going, I'll keep going.
Well, yeah, let's keep going. So do we have a square root function? Yeah. Do we have multiply?
While you're doing that, I'm going to throw Brian's comment up on the screen just as a reminder for next time. I don't know if we know the answer to this, but can they be used in pivot table calculated fields? I don't know. I think, Brian, my question there would be, are you talking about the old calculated fields? I think you are. Not the like DAX way of doing it, which is the new way of doing pivot table calculated fields, but maybe chime in there.
Yeah, if you're able to use any type of Excel formula in the pivot table calculated fields, I know you will be able to use the Lambda functions, but I'm just not sure if you have access to the full set of Excel functions in there. So it might be best to table that for the next session.
Yeah.
Unless someone that is like.
Yeah, we're just putting it up there to remind us for the next one.
Yes. Okay, so let's try creating our own bundle of custom formulas, custom lambdas. And then I need to wrap up for my monthly haircut. So let's call that multiply, and multiply will refer to lambda.
Okay, Brian says yes, old school calculated fields. All right, well, we'll have to take a look at that next time.
Okay, and my formula does operand 1 times operand 2. Then let's save, let's synchronize, and can I use it? Equal multiply. Yes, that works. 1, 5 by 5 should give us 25. Good. So let's create an add-in out of that. Excel save, browse, Excel add-in.
I think there's two kinds of add-ins, right? There's a COM add-in, which I think is what Velixo runs as. That's like an official program. And then there's this add-in file, which is like a duct tape, poor man's way of doing an add-in.
Yes. Okay, so I save my add-in. Let's close Excel and see what happens. I'm not sure it will be loaded by default.
Yeah, you might have to put it in a certain folder.
Yeah, it prompted me to save it to a special folder already. No, it's not there, but let's try to add it from options, add-ins, go. Oh, it's right there. My
Perfect.
Lambda add-in, yes. So okay. it got saved in this directory in my roaming /Microsoft /add-ins folder. So let's auto load it. I will check it. And then let's close. Let's see if the lambdas do work. I'm not sure since they are part of a separate workbook.
Yeah, you know it works for VBA, but we don't know if it works for.
It doesn't work.
At least not at this point in time.
Yes. So so maybe the requirement would be to use the add-in to register the name in the workbook. So if you create an add-in, let's reopen it. Maybe what you could do in the add-in itself is to hook into Excel events. So when a workbook is open,
So VBA is like your communication mechanism to let it know about the Lambda.
Yes, you can add names.add, and then multiply refers to. So I'm sure there's a way to do it through VBA, but that will be for another day. I guess we don't have time to do that in 5
Well,
minutes.
this is so cool. This is really cool
No,
stuff.
it's very cool. Yes, and I will definitely explore that, Tim, because I want a way to easily share lambdas that we will be building for clients and make sure that people can leverage them easily in their existing workbooks.
Yeah, Toon's got a question about inventory aging. That's a popular request, but there's a bazillion of these, right? And we've got to figure out a way to deploy them. But you just opened Pandora's box here. Looks very interesting.
Yes.
Well, maybe not Pandora's box. Something more pleasant than that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, hey, thanks, Gabrielle. I know you got to run. Thanks for showing us all that.
Thanks.
Anything else to wrap up, or we'll let you go?
Nothing. I will let you wrap up. I will turn my camera off and just let you wrap up this session. If you have something that you want to cover by yourself, feel free to do so. And I will be watching the recording.
Okay, I'll go ahead and play that one more thing. All right, so we'll let Gabrielle run. I got one little video I'll go ahead and play here since we have a little bit more time. Gabrielle comes at things from the dynamic array formula. And one of my reasons for wanting to do this in the first place was wanting to get a feel for when are dynamic array formulas more appropriate versus pivot tables with Power Pivot, Power BI functionality. I think there's overlap in these two worlds. And we won't have time to do the last piece that we were going to look at, which is how to add a dynamic column to a dynamic array. But let's at least take a look at the Power BI side of things, which is usually how I come at it from. And I did do some exploring, and maybe Gabrielle and I can talk about this next time. I actually made this video for Gabrielle, but I'll go ahead and play it for you. It's how you can put Power Pivot on top of your cached Velixo data. So the problem is that Power Pivot wants to do a full refresh. And when you're doing that over your OData connection, it can take a long time. You might have hundreds of thousands of records. It's a long time to refresh it. Well, Velixo can do a smart refresh, so its refresh is a lot faster. And when Velixo does a refresh, it stores the data locally on your computer. And you could then do a Power BI refresh off of your local computer. So anyways, here's about a 10-minute video. I'll show you what that looks like, and then we'll wrap it up. See right here. I'd like to take a look at using Velixo data in Power BI, or specifically in Power Pivot in Microsoft Excel. Velixo stores all of its data in a cache folder here underneath your user. You can see right here, this is all of the data that Velixo has downloaded for this specific instance. I believe it's actually an instance and a company. You can see the instance with an @ and the tenant, not a company. This .bin file is actually a SQLite database, as far as I can tell. So wouldn't it be really cool if we could connect Power Pivot to this SQLite database? And in this video, I'd like to show you how to do that. The first thing you need is a driver that can talk to the SQLite database. Here's one right here that you can download on this website. Now note that you need to make sure you download either the 32-bit or the 64-bit, depending on what version of Excel you have. So in my case, I've got a 64-bit version of Excel, which is especially helpful with Power BI or the Power Pivot area because it gives you access to more local memory on your system. So you can see here 64-bit is my Excel version. So I made sure to download the 64-bit, this W64 executable file. It's a really lightweight file. You can see it's 2 megs in this case. The install is really simple. You just go through a few prompts, let it install itself, check the box, install, boom, you're done. Then you need to create an ODBC driver. So if you search for ODBC, in my case I want the 64-bit ODBC. You can see on the drivers tab down here, here are the SQLite ODBC drivers that we just installed. And we want to use this SQLite 3. At least that worked for me with the Velixo data. So then we need to go over to User DSN and click Add. Scroll down and pick that SQLite 3 ODBC driver. Click Finish. We'll give it a name. I'm going to call it Velixo. Then the quote database name is one of those bin files. So I'm going to take this path, copy it, paste it, put a slash, and then reference this bin file right here. Paste it and click OK. So now I've got an ODBC connection to my Velixo SQLite data. All right, then all we need to do is open up Excel. And just like we would normally connect to a database using this Power Query area, we're going to connect to an ODBC driver. And we're going to connect to the Velixo ODBC driver that we just set up. So here it is, Velixo. Gabrielle might have some thoughts on some of these more advanced options, but I'm not going to do that. I'll just click OK. And I just realized that I already authenticated. So 1 second, I'm going to pause the video and back up. Okay, let's try that again. So let's do the ODBC. I just want to show you the authentication piece. Velixo, click OK. And this first time it needs to know how to log in. Now what worked for me is using this database option, and I use my regular Acumatica username and password. That's it. And the username and password, click connect. That authenticated me to the Velixo data. And now I'm looking at the data that's sitting in that bin file. That Velixo bin file. So this is the data that Velixo has already downloaded from Acumatica. Now I did a test earlier where I took an AP Bills generic inquiry and brought that in using the GI formula in Velixo. You can see it's got an ugly name here, but at least it does appear. And I could go do my Power Query steps on here. I'd probably want to rename this to something that's more friendly, like AP Bills. But I could do all my normal Power Query stuff. You know, like maybe I want to get rid of, let's see, maybe I want to get rid of debit adjustments, for example. All that normal Power Query stuff using the breadcrumbs on the right-hand side. And then I could load this back into the Power Pivot area, which is the Power BI area. Click OK. So it's now loading, instead of directly from Acumatica, it's loading from my Velixo data. I can do all of the normal stuff here, like go add a pivot table. And maybe I want to see a breakdown of the amount by status. So we could do this. Got a pivot table. And what's nice here is with the refresh, let me click back over here first. With the refresh, you can see it's going to be really fast because it's refreshing it from my local Velixo data, not directly from Acumatica. And I think this is interesting because I assume, I'll have to ask Gabrielle on this, but I assume we could then use Velixo's Smart Refresh to refresh the Velixo data, which only updates the recently modified data. It's a lot faster than pulling the entire data set. And now using Power BI and Excel, I'm getting a really fast refresh because I can't do an incremental refresh in this Power Pivot, Power BI area in Excel. So I need to use still a full refresh, but at least I'm doing a full refresh on local data, not over ODBC, or sorry, not over OData. Now I want to try something else. Let's close down this Excel file and do a brand new Excel file. Let's go connect to that ODBC again. You'll notice that this time it's not going to require me to authenticate. This is normal Power Query behavior. It stores your credentials locally on your machine, so it doesn't have to ask for them every time. So you can see right now I've got one generic inquiry other than the standard Velixo generic inquiry. But what if I want to do more? So let's say I've got this AP vendors generic inquiry. I've got it exposed via OData. Let's close out of here. What's cool here, I think, is I could use any Excel file. It doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be an Excel file that's using Power Pivot. Just something to trigger Velixo to do the refresh. And you know, all I need to do there is use that Velixo GI formula, put in my connection, put in the name of the generic inquiry that I'm connecting to. Just do something to get Velixo to pull the data. And looks like I need to add that. Just give me Give me a moment to add this. Put in my connection to this environment. My tenant is company. Okay, let's try that again. All right, so now it just pulled in the data from that generic inquiry. And as soon as it did that, it cached the data locally into that bin file. So if I were to have checked this before, we can go back and check the screenshots, but this file size, oh, there we go. I refresh it, and now you can see the file size is a little bit larger because it pulled in that extra data. So I don't even have to save this. All I had to do was trigger Velixo to refresh from this generic inquiry. And now I could close out of Excel, launch Excel again. I'm just trying to prove that it's not connected to Velixo directly. Now if I go back and I do that ODBC, and I connect to that Velixo data source, click OK. Now you can see I've got that extra generic inquiry. Now I've got the vendors. So I think it's interesting. You could use Velixo essentially as a refresh mechanism using the smart refresh, I assume. That all gets stored locally on your machine. And as long as you've done that in any Excel file, refresh that data. Now you've got data cached on your machine. It's like a local data warehouse. You have a lot of flexibility because you can pull from any generic inquiry using that GI function. You pull it down locally, and then I can put Power BI on top of that data and get a very fast refresh in Power BI since it's just refreshing what's essentially local data using this SQLite ODBC driver. All right, we're back live. For those of you who work with the Power Pivot functions in Excel / Power BI, like I do, you might find that interesting way to essentially create a mini data warehouse, a duct tape data warehouse using Velixo on your local computer. All right, I know we went a couple minutes over. Apologize for that. We'll pick it up again next month. Thanks for your time.